Hey everybody, and thank you for joining my channel. Today I'm going to go over the case of Debbie Lynn Randall. She was a 9-year-old little girl. She attended the Pine Forest Elementary School in Marietta, Georgia. So on January 13th, 1972, Debbie's mother, Juanita Hooker, asked Debbie and her older brother Melvin if they would take a load of laundry across the street to the laundromat and get it started for what time she was finishing up supper. Melvin wanted to stay home and watch the popular show, The Rifleman. And so the stepdad, Frank, said, well, I'll take her over there. I'll take her over, drop her off, come back, watch some sports. It wasn't nothing unusual. I mean, families in that neighborhood was letting their kids out to play together. A lot of these kids would meet at the laundromat. Um, she would take her dolls a lot of times at the laundromat, things like that. So he went back on home, and after a while, Debbie's mom, she realized, Debbie's been gone for a while. I'm gonna go over here and check on her. Maybe she lost track of time. Maybe she's playing with some of the neighborhood kids, or something like that. She wasn't really all that. She wasn't panicky, uh, terribly at first. Yes, she was worried, but like not frantic. So, so she goes over and she looks, can't find her nowhere. Well, that's when she starts really getting like uneasy, worrying bad. She goes back in, she tells the family, I can't find her nowhere. Debbie is gone. I, she's nowhere. So the family, they leave. They search in different areas. Some of them going in businesses asking if they'd seen her. No, nobody had saw her, and so they called the police. It was around 9:30 p.m. that night, and the investigators showed up. There was a few witnesses that came forward. One of them claimed that he had saw a male throw Debbie over his shoulder and throw her in a vehicle through the driver's side. Another one said that the vehicle almost struck him and he could see through the front windshield that a man had a little girl tugging at her ear. And then, after the description of the vehicle, the neighbor who lived in the apartment right next door to Debbie and her family said, wait a minute, that truck was sitting out here earlier. I saw it sitting out there, didn't think much about it. It took off. All right, well, after asking around, a few people had noticed that this vehicle had been in that area, and that was very suspicious during the time of a 9-year-old little girl gone missing. All right, well, so the next thing that happened is they put together an organization, and a lot of people joins this to go on the search, looking for Debbie. Well, the search finally exhausted, unfortunately. After the exhaustion, a military veteran and some college students had went out to go looking, and the military veteran, he had noticed in an area, it didn't look normal to him. It looked offset. It appeared to be drag marks. So he starts following these drag marks. At the end of these drag marks, unfortunately, this veteran discovered what everybody had been fearing. It was the lifeless body of the little 9-year-old Debbie Lynn. All right, at that time, they wasn't, for instance, now there's a lot of DNA tests that can be done, um, and it can really pinpoint very easy. Back in 1972, they didn't really take evidence into custody with as much precaution as they do now. I'm not saying that they didn't care, but I'm saying that they didn't take as much precaution. So when the detectives came out and started investigating this area, they wrapped a sheet around her body. They bundled in the sheet. And now they did not, she was took to the coroner's office like that. They did not unwrap this sheet until she got in there for her autopsy. All right, so after this autopsy comes back, well, let me say this before that. Unfortunately, from where her family was so destroyed by finding out this news, they could not go and identify Debbie's body. Her uncle done it. That's understandable. This family had just encountered one of the most horrific things that any family can encounter in their life. It's terrible. But okay, the autopsy comes back. She was beaten, strangled, mutilated. A rag was left to try to stop some bleeding from the destruction that this monster caused this child. Around 3 months later, a man that lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, came forward and told police that he had been the one that had killed Debbie. They start investigating this man. After investigating him, they find out that this is nothing but a hoax. He had learned all of his information from reading newspapers. And why someone would do that, I do not know. They have some major, major mental issues, okay? To even, he admitted he was intoxicated. Okay, you have some mental issues. But this case went cold until 2001. And back in 1972, they had found a hair on Debbie's coat. Her coat, now, let me remind you, her coat was zipped up over her face. Like someone was hiding from seeing her face. Okay? Guilt, whatever it may be. But anyway, a hair was found on her coat. Well, in 2001, this hair had been kept, and in 2001, DNA was extracted from this piece of hair, and it was put in the CODIS. They didn't have a hit. Well, this really surprised a lot of law enforcement because of the fact the injuries that was done to Debbie's body seemed to be done by someone who was familiar with things like this, like a person that would do it more than once or a person that had already done it, because it was terrible. So there was no match. There was no sex offenders that, or anyone, any kind of criminal, any of them. All right, well, it did show, though, that the suspect was a white male and he was dark complected. The photos that was taken from Debbie and her crime scene, or should I say, I'm sorry, the photos that were taken of the crime scene, I'm getting all tongue-tied here, they were terrible. The unit decided to reopen the case in 2014, and see, Detective Morris Nix, he took on the case. And I do have some cheat sheets here. I'm sorry, but that's how I remember things. All right, they started checking off names of the persons of interest whose DNA didn't match the DNA found at the scene. In 2019, a familia DNA was done. What a familia DNA is DNA took by close relatives, and by the close relatives' DNA, this could help them narrow down who the killer is. Because there's going to be certain things of that DNA that's the same that shows that they're related. All right. So after putting all the connections together, they do something, this genealogy, they do something that's like family trees. They go down this and they go down this. Now they might not always pinpoint right off the bat. They might get, let's say, 6 people, give or take. Now, I'm not no genealogist, so, but let's say 6 people. Well, they'll go down through that line. And if they get a sample, it's not a hit. No, it's not a hit, but they're related to this person. How? That's how they end up getting down to the basic on who it is. Well, in 2022, there was a breakthrough in this case. There was a partial match through DNA analysis. And after putting the connections together, one person had stood out, and his name was William Rose. William Rose had committed suicide in 1974, 2 years after the murder of Debbie. He had 12 children, I think it said. So one of his children they asked one of his children to come forward and give a DNA to see if she was the child of this DNA match that was found on little Debbie's coat. That person did give DNA, and it did show that the person's who DNA they took was a match as being a child of the person's DNA that was found on Debbie. So at the end of the day, this case has been resolved, and it has gave closure to some of the family. The brother said that he does forgive Mr. Ross or Rose for doing what he done, which it takes a strong man to do that. And I give you props for that. I really do. Um, other things is, the killer, he committed suicide. So he kind of got out the easy way. He took the coward way out. Um, Seems to me like maybe, I don't know, he might have been scared of doing the time for the crime that he committed against the child like he did. Um, he had some terrible issues. So thanks to Cobb County for finding out who the monster was that took this little girl's life, and for the family, my heart goes out to you.